Year it was a season ago for the Northwestern Wildcats. Their second place finish in the Big Ten was their best since 1959. Big Ten Coach of the Year Chris Collins joining us now, our big interview. Coach, let's start. You got one game under your belt. You played Binghamton on Monday. It was not easy. You guys actually trailed at the half. What did you learn about your team on Monday night?
Well, that we are a real work in progress, which wasn't a big surprise. Although we have a great core returning with Boo, who's terrific, and Brooks and Ty Berry and Matthew Nicholson, we are integrating a lot of new guys, and just how that all fits together. It takes time, and we got great guys. They're really getting along well. They're connected well, but certainly there's a lot of things we got to continue to clean up. I thought we weren't as great defensively as we needed to be in the first half. I thought we settled down as it got into halftime and held them to 22 points, which was really encouraging the second half. And the thing you always like to see, though, is just the ability to kind of gut it out and grind it out. Maybe when it's not going great, can you dig down and figure out a way to win? And I think that was the biggest thing I came out of it is that we got to get a lot better, but we have, the culture things in place to really dig down when we need to and find a way to win.
You mentioned the defense, and that was kind of the signature of this team last year. You were just such a tough team, particularly in the half court, really made people work. As you said, particularly in the first half, against Binghamton, that just wasn't the case. Did get much better in the second half. But what is the key to that? Like, to being a great defensive team, and you guys were a great defensive team a year ago. What does this team need to do to get to that level?
Well, I just think defense is the one area of basketball where you really see the connectivity of five guys moving as one. And a lot of the things we do schematically, defensively, relies on everybody being in their right spot and having the trust of your teammate, to be where they're supposed to be if you're doing your job. And, I think we're still learning that. Our communication has to get better. I think that group last year, by the time we got, to the midseason into conference play, they were just kind of so well drilled and connected and knew how to cover up for each other. And that's where we have to get. We're having some breakdowns in that area. And I know the guys want it. The will is there. The want to is there. We just got to keep getting experience, keep playing together. And, we know it still has to be an identity. I feel like we have some offensive weapons. We can space the floor and have some shooting and some scoring. But in order for us to be the best team we're going to be, we're going to have to be elite defensively like we were last year.
You were talking about Boo and what a huge boon it is to have him back this year. It's pretty remarkable. I always like to go back on recruiting rankings. He was the 318th ranked player in his class. At what point did you know he had a chance to be a special player?
There was a stretch in his freshman year, Dave, where I always knew he could score. And I really liked that about him. He was a guy that always put up huge numbers, was a volume scorer. Maybe shot selection was a little iffy at times, but you got to have guys who can put in the basket. And he had a stretch kind of early in his freshman year when we started playing him more and giving him extended minutes. He had a big game against Michigan State. I remember his freshman year at home. We were down big. I think he had a huge second half, kind of brought us back, followed that up with a couple other big games, ended up hurting his foot a little bit and missing time. But you kind of saw in that stretch that, man, the talent is there with experience, with maturity, with coaching, all those things, that he had a chance to be really good. And I mean, he's been even better. I mean, to be a first team all-league guy, preseason All-American, the legacy he's left as a leader, as a player in this program. I mean, he's going to go down, as one of the all-time greats ever at Northwestern. And it's been really fun to coach him these 5 years.
I want to ask you about another player on the team, and I was watching a little bit of your exhibition game, and Brooks Barnhizer just put on a show. I mean, he was unbelievable, absolutely filled the stat sheet. And we saw a little bit of this late last year, that he kind of became, there was all this talk about who could be your third scorer behind Boo, and Chase Audige, who, of course, has moved on. And Barnhizer started to emerge. But give us a sense of what he can be this year, and particularly some of the matchup issues that he presents for people.
The fun thing about Brooks is he's such a gym rat. He's a basketball junkie. He lives, eats, breathes, sleeps ball. He's an incredibly hard worker. He's a smart player, obviously son of a coach, so he's been in the gym his whole life. He's just so unique, Dave, with what you can do with him. It makes it fun as a coach creatively because he's so big and strong with guard skills. He's 6'6", 225 pounds. He's physical. If you put a smaller guy on you, he can really punish you inside. If you try to put a bigger guy, he can come out and play off the dribble. You can put him in pick and rolls. You can just move him around and kind of play him all over the floor, which I think makes him very unique, very tough as a matchup guy. And certainly he's going to be a huge part of this team. You already saw our exhibition game. He was huge. Even the other night, we had a stretch in the second half where the game was in the balance and Boo picked up his fourth foul with about 8 minutes to go. And, we needed Brooks to kind of carry the load there until Boo came back those last 4 minutes and he got 18 points, 13 rebounds. So, he's excited about the opportunity. He's worked hard. He's a guy that I think has a chance to have all league potential. And I said it last year, right? I mean, everyone asked me, how could we be good? We're going to be a good team if Boo and Brooks are all league players. There's no question, and everybody else kind of fills their role around those two guys.
I do want to ask you a little bit about last year, just in the context of the memories that it created. It's fun to watch those highlights that we opened up this segment with, and just think about the energy that surrounded this team and the fact that you really came through in the clutch when you needed to. Is there a moment that will most resonate with you, that when people say, hey, talk to me about that 22-23 team, this is the first thing that pops into your head?
I mean, there's a couple. I mean, it was such an incredible journey with a great group of guys who just bought in and believed in each other all year long. And I just kind of went along with the ride and tried to guide them in the right way. They were so determined, so tough. Obviously, that Purdue game, was super special. Super Bowl Sunday, everything that it represented, the crowd we had that day, the court storming, the excitement, that will always be a really special game. I think that last regular season game kind of was, at Rutgers, playing in one of the most hostile environments in the conference. If you win the game, you come in second place. If you lose, you come in ninth. We had lost, I think, 3 in a row, 3 out of 4. And to go on the road and win that game, it kind of encapsulated what that team was all about. And then, you always remember Selection Sunday when you're at a program that's only done it twice in, about 100 years, to be with everybody that supports you and family and friends and to celebrate going to the NCAAs and a historic feat. Those are probably 3 moments that will always stick in my head with that team.
The last time you guys made the tourney, as you well know, the next year didn't go so well. I do think part of that was where you had to play. You didn't get to have a home court advantage that season, but still was largely the same group of guys. I know you've been asked this a lot, but how do you avoid that with this group?
Yeah, I think every group is different. I have tried to, just look inside myself. How can I be better? Looking back 7 years or whatever that was, I had less gray hair. I didn't have to wear readers. But so I feel like, maybe I'm a little bit more experienced, being able to help lead these guys and do the best job I can do. It is a newer team. That team was really pretty much the same team. We had no new guys. I do think an influx of kind of new roles, new identities, kind of fresh personalities, will help, I think. But obviously it's going to be a tough slate. We got a huge game Friday night against a great Dayton team. We got a lot, the Big Ten is going to be as grueling and as daunting as ever before. And we saw last year, the fine line between 1 or 2 games being in second place versus 10th or 11th place. So we're going to have to be tough-minded. We're going to have to win close games. We're going to have to fight every night. But I've tried not to reflect too much with our current guys on that team because none of those guys were here, and I want every journey to be different. And, hopefully we can keep those environments. In Welsh Ryan this year, they probably got us 3 or 4 wins just from the energy, the students, the fans. And we're going to need that again as we head into the schedule that we'll have to face.
We'll get to the Dayton game in just a moment. I always like to kind of get to know our coaches when we have them on. I think for fans, this kind of stuff is fun. You are an avid golfer. Tell me what your favorite course is that you've ever played.
Well, I've been really lucky. I would have to say number one, Augusta National. Got the late minute invite on a 1 day notice. They said, can you go? I dropped everything to experience that. I've always loved the game of golf. I've been around it my whole life. Augusta National. I'm a big fan of Bandon Dunes out in Oregon.
Right.
It's kind of my happy place. Golf is the one thing for me, that kind of gets me away from the grind of coaching. You get outside. My son's a really good player. We spend a lot of father-son time playing, but going out to the coast of Oregon and playing those courses and kind of getting away from it all, that's always a special trip. I've gone a few times. So I would probably say those two.
Who's your dream foursome, Chris, dead or alive?
Gotta say Tiger Woods. Would love to be around that guy. My son, I would want him to be in there. And maybe MJ. He's a big golfer. That would be a pretty good foursome. Tiger, MJ, me, and my son. So that'd be a pretty fun day.
And you would play it at the best course that you haven't played, which is what?
Oh man, I've never done like I'd love to get over to Scotland and Ireland. That's kind of next on my list. St. Andrews, some of those iconic venues over there. Trying to cross them off before I get too old and can't move around. But that'd be pretty cool to get over there. I think that's next on my list.
All right, give us a quick scouting report on Dayton.
Oh man, athletic team, terrific big man, Deron Holmes, one of the best bigs in the country. Really athletic, get after you defensively. A veteran team. They've gone out and got some transfers. They got some returners, obviously elite big man, very well coached. Anthony does a great job with the team. And we scheduled this for a reason. We're not in the ACC Challenge anymore. We're not in the Gavitt games this year. We knew we needed an early season test from a team we feel is going to be in the NCAA tournament. And it's going to be a really good barometer for us here in the first week to kind of see where we're at and where we need to go.
Looking forward to watching that one on Friday night. Chris Collins, always enjoy catching up with you. Thanks a lot for the time.
Thanks, Dave.